Still waiting here. All right, we are live and we are ready to go. Okay.
Great.
Apologize for the delay here. We had some technical difficulties and we now have that figured out. My name is James Jackson III, and I'll be moderating this session here with Automat. And who we have with Automat is Daniel Fierro, and we're excited to have him join us and kind of share the opportunities they have within Automat, and also share a little bit about Automat. So Daniel, thank you for joining us today on the Get Hired Summit.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us
to be part of this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. So trying to get things started, tell us a little bit about Automat, who you are, and what you guys offer.
So we're tagged as a conversational company. We started as marketing AI and stuff like that, and what we end up creating is a company that's with core technologies, with AI technology, and a bunch of tools around the how to render that core AI technology through chatbots. So we are developing chatbots, very smart chatbot. It's not the typical customer service chatbot that you see when you're going through a given website, for example. At the bottom right of the screen, you have usually a little icon with a bubble, and then you click on it, and then you can ask a bunch of questions, FAQs, and usually things like, oh well, where's my order, and do I want to initiate a return, and stuff like that. Those are more, capabilities around customer services type of request.
Well,
our core expertise is around advisors and product recommendations. So we have the capabilities right now through the interaction with the user, through a conversational interaction with the user, to ask the user about some of their concerns or some questions that they may have about their skin type or skin problem or skin concerns. We have the ability, for example, to recommend the best skincare products. So we started originally, our focus was around beauty, skincare. Our first big customer was L'Oreal, and we developed for them a bunch of bots running on Facebook Messenger that are basically skincare advisors. So you get onto the bot, and then the bot asks you, okay, what are your skin type, ask you what are your concerns, what are your goals, and stuff like that. And then based on that, we can pose a diagnostic and say, well, these are the products that we feel are going to be recommended for you. So our core technology is centered around this kind of conversation. That was the original bot that we created. And then over the years, we start expanding the scope. So we are going now above and beyond just skincare. We're going above and beyond different domains, whether it's furniture or retail. And our sweet spot these days is really around retail. So we are looking and targeting retailers. And as we all know, they're kind of struggling these days. They're closing left and right all over the place. And there are a lot of them that are, refocusing their effort on their e-com strategy. And this is becoming our sweet spot, right? Because now we have the capabilities, the core AI and technology capability to go above and beyond purely skincare. And we're also now focusing really around retailers. So our really sweet spot is the brands that are direct to consumer, because those guys, they don't have the baggage of having retail outlets or whatever you. So those guys are really build their whole strategy and their whole campaign and their whole companies, if you will, around e-com and social strategies and marketings that are really going about really on the econ space and not really in the typical retail space.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going.
So that's what we do. So I mean, everybody does a bot these days, right? Including my mother, and everybody claims they can do bots, they can develop bots and stuff like that. So we are really, I mean, of course we have some competitors, but we're really the one that we're developing are super smart bots, because all those conversations that you see are really built, in real time. Nothing is kind of pre-defined. So it's all the AI capabilities behind the scene that are helping us build those dialogues and those conversations read on the fly, depending on what the customer or the end consumer has answered just throughout the whole conversation.
Wow. The AI technology is so fascinating to me, to be able to click on a button and you can just start talking. You're talking to a robot that's answering all your questions. So it's so fascinating where we come from and what we're able to do. And what you shared is great, just because of the environment that we're living in, where, in order for retailers to survive, they have to switch now to e-commerce. Even companies that haven't been on e-commerce as much, it's now time. Even like this really small stores that you see, maybe even like the ones that just have like this little pop-up stands. And now is the time more than ever that um, e-commerce is almost required just for your business to thrive.
Yeah,
Um, and so it's great that you're engaged in that and assisting these companies.
totally. And we've seen that. So I know that everybody's going through like a massive, worldwide, tragedy at this moment with COVID. But as far as we're concerned, and as far as our customers, some of our customers are concerned, I mean, these guys, it's literally like it's a booming time. It's a boom time for them, because I mean, their e-com traffic is going through the roof. Uh, our customers right now, the engagement that we have, the traction that we're getting with our existing customers, the success we're getting with some existing customers, the traction we're getting on the sales front also, is all that is pointing to, like in terms of timing, as far as we're concerned, it was a perfect timing. So it's a bad thing in general, but it's a very good thing for our company. And I can see, we're looking at some traffic slides today's, and the volume that we're seeing since the March timeframe, as far as the traffic that our bots are processing to all our customers, it's just been just crazy. It's going through the roof, literally.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question I posed to you, because there are, of course, we talked about companies that are suffering and they're on the verge of closing. There are companies that have closed. There's companies that are cutting budgets and there's layoffs. But obviously, you're in this Get Hired Summit, and so
Yeah.
you're looking for people. So what has been the demand looking like for your company as far as your growth?
So the demand for us is, as I said before, because the timing of the way we were kind of reorienting the company, um, we able to go after brand new domains and brand new verticals, as far as we are concerned. So verticals or domains, if you will, that we're not even considering in the past. So
Mhm.
that has the effect that the core technology, I think the core AI team has developed a technology that now can be expanded in such a way that we can cover a lot of verticals. Now the demand, as far as we're concerned, is on the services team, right? Because those bots, we are the way we are deploying those bots. We're not a pure SaaS organization, so there's still a lot of customization that we need to do, and it's not really customization because the technology has some some flaws. It's just because every customer, they want to have a bot that is really representative of their brands. Since
Mhm.
this is not a customer service type of uh, bot, we're not treating like where's my order, or what's the status of my order, or I want to return my order, which is pretty generic questions, right? What's the way you're dealing, for example, Sephora, or the way you're dealing with Amica, or the way we're dealing with Tatcha, or so it's going to be like really, really, really different, because our product is really about recommending the best product for your concerns and your problems. So we are the customers are very, very, very careful about how we're going to be positioning the bot, how the persona of the bot will reflect the brand. So that's where the customization happens. We make sure that it's really on brand, the visual assets, the color, the look and feel, the persona, the tone of the conversation, right? So we
Mm.
have bots, for example, that we deploy for a bank here in Montreal, in Canada. For it's basically a FinServe, and it's about making appointment with financial advisors, right? So the way you talk to someone, or the way you interact with someone to book an appointment with a financial advisor, it's not the same as if you are like a super hip brand, a brand from Brooklyn, selling shampoos to millennials, for example, right?
Yeah.
So it's a complete different type of demographics, and the intents and the concerns are different. The language is different. It's completely different. So that's where the customization is. So that's what my team is responsible for. So I'm the head of the customer delivery and success team, which is basically a services organization, who is responsible for engaging with the customer. So when a customer is interested in our technology, so what we do is sit down with their brand managers, their e-com managers, their marketing folks, and we try to capture the essence of the brand. We try to capture, of course, the domain, because every domain is different, right? Whether you're selling shampoos or or high-end luxury menswear, for example, the domain is completely different, right? So the products have different attributes. So we need to understand those attributes, because we're going to be asking questions about the product itself, right? So we need to understand which products would fit your personality or your requirements, and that's based on understanding what are the different attributes of the product. So, for example, if I go to I don't know. I used to go when I was used to go to the U.S. and New York in particular. My favorite, department store was Barney's. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt. So, when I used to go to Barney's and buying a T-shirts or pants or stuff like that, I mean, the attributes of the pants are completely different than if I'm buying, like, I don't know, shampoos at Walgreens, for example. Right? It's
Mm.
completely different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to understand the domain. We need to understand the attributes of the product, and that's how all the science is where we're going to be we're going to be getting all those products from the retailer or for the brand into our database, and we'll start understanding all the different attributes that we'll be using at the end of the day to create the most appropriate and most relevant conversation, so we can, through those questions, come up with the best recommendation in terms of whether it's a Tom Ford T-shirt, or if it's a Sephora shampoo, for example. So my team is responsible for that. So in my team, I have those are projects, right? So of course I have project managers. I do have designers. Those designers are responsible for understanding the domain, understanding the product attributes, and crafting the appropriate conversation in conjunction with the customers. And of course, we do have the typical thing, because at the end of the day, you need to test your bug before you put in production. So we have testers, and we also have integration engineers, whose main task is to help us integrate our web chat into the customer website. Because most of our interactions right now are going through our customer website, their ecom website.
Okay, great. So a couple of questions that come up from that, just for clarification here. You're talking about customer delivery. It seems like there was a lot involved in that. You're talking about communication with the customer, looking at the bots. And so is there several different roles that are covered there? You have it's like sounds like there's a sales side, there's a development side, and there's a service side. Am I correct?
That is correct. So our company is it's a fairly small company. We're about 30 person, including the executive team. So we do have, of course, we have a core AI team. So this is the development team. We do have an engineering team, of course, who is responsible for developing and creating the technology and the web chat technology itself, if you will. So and then there's, of course, a sales organization, small sales organization, small marketing team, and of course the services team, which is my team. So of course it goes. It's. I mean, in terms of organization, it's a typical thing, right? So from sales to services through marketing and stuff like that. And so I do represent the services organization where most of the growth in terms of headcount is focused right now. So
Okay.
because we have like so many new customers that we're going to be onboarding in the coming quarters, that it requires a bunch of additional headcount in my team.
Okay. So how much of a headcount you're looking to increase over the next 6, 7 months, maybe?
So I basically we have small teams, right? So, but I basically, in my case, have about the equivalent of about 6 headcount, and it's going to be like PMs, project managers, designers. That's going to be mainly the core of my ask right now.
Okay. So you look for project managers and designers, correct?
Yes, designers. Yes.
Okay. And you said you're based out of Canada. So with this type of role, are people remote, or were you looking to have these people be located?
Yeah, so everybody's remote these days, right? As you know, so
Hmm.
so for me right now, I do have we have folks working in our team. Um, One is in British Columbia right now. She's come back to Montreal, but when she went to British Columbia for on the West Coast for 2 months, we didn't. I mean, there was absolutely no difference as far as we're concerned. Yeah, so it's going to be remote. If we have the right candidate, for me, it's more important to find the right candidate and finding the right location. So it's if we found someone is attending right now this webcast, and we have a great candidate. I'm open to any location, and if people, in addition, that if they want to relocate to Montreal because Montreal is such a great city, well, you're more than welcome to relocate, of course.
Awesome. So if they do by chance are willing to relocate, will there be an office that they'll be working out of then, or is it just still remote?
Yeah, so we have an office. We until in fact until March the 11th, everybody was working from the office, and that was it was typical startup office, right?
Hmm.
Nothing different. And so since then, everybody's working from home. So what we did in the past, I think 3 weeks, 3 4 weeks now, we reopened the office with limited attendees. So we are trying to control the number of people that are staying in the office. We reconfigure the office, of course. So again, if people, if whoever is willing to relocate to Montreal, there will be an office. There's no guarantee that the whole team is going to be back in the office before the end of the year. But on a regular basis, almost every day, some folks are going to the office because it's more convenient for them. Because sometimes working from home, it's kind of difficult. Some people are just like have someone they just said, well, I don't have any air conditioning at my place, and the summer in Montreal is like super hot this year. I don't know what's going on, and so they have the AC at the office, and they prefer to work from the office. So we have put in place a mechanism to control the number of people that can go to the office, because we want to limit the number of folks there on site. And as I said, we reconfigure all the entire office. So sure, and our hope is that maybe next year or something like that, when things are going back under control, that we can all go back to the office.
Yeah. Well, for someone that is going to be probably end up working remote, um, this is a different time for everybody as we're, coming on board and working for a new team, working for a new company. But now we're working for a new company and we are remote. So, I mean, we're meeting, you, reporting to you, working with you. I mean, you're part of the team, but we only see you virtually. So can you kind of share the culture, the structure to keep people, how you keep people engaged and productive in this kind of environment that we're in?
Yeah. So in my case, I've been a manager and director and exec for companies like that, startups and small companies and big companies. And don't ask me why, but I've been always involved in managing and leading remote teams. So I'm going to give you a crazy example. At some point, I relocated to California and working for a small startup in California at that time, and all my team was in Montreal, which is crazy because I was originally from Montreal. And then I went back to Montreal, and at that time, I changed for a different company. And at that time, all my team was in California and in the US East Coast. Recently, I was working for a company in the headquarters where was in Vegas. And my entire team, 150 people, they were located in Vegas and Reno. And I was the only one located in Montreal. I didn't want to relocate to Vegas. So my boss at that time created a special position for me in Montreal. And I was working in Montreal. So I always ended up, managing teams. So for me, it's kind of second nature. And I've always been encouraging, the folks in my team to, if it's better for you, I'm super flex. I mean, we're always on 24/7. We have all kinds of mechanism to communicate, whether it's Slack or whatever. So the way it, in the case of Automat, we already had like a solid kernel where we've been interacting on a daily basis. So when it happened, it was easy and simple because we all knew each other. We knew how to work. We had our existing, patterns and ways of working. Where I found the difficulty these days is like we are onboarding new people, right? So I told you we're hiring, and then we are getting new people in the team, and the onboarding is going to be the first time we're going to be doing onboarding where we haven't met the individuals, and I found that a little really challenging. It's interesting, right? But I think it's. I mean, the whole team is learning. So I would say the challenge is going to be really on the onboarding and getting the folks on board on the team. But as far as the day-to-day activity and what do we do specifically to make sure the team is feels still connected. So we have daily touch points that are just about how to social, about socializing, right? So we have like a 30 minutes touch point, it's called this virtual coffee. And then we just do coffee with the team. And then it's the CDS team meeting, my team, the services team, we're meeting every day, same time. And we're just chit-chatting, socializing about things. Then in addition to that, everybody's on Slack, so we are constantly interacting on Slack. I'm very, very, very specific in my case. I spend a lot of time with my teams on one-on-one. So I know that some managers and directors and stuff like that, they have one-on-ones with their folks only once a month, stuff like that. In my case, it's systematic every week. I have a personal one-on-one with everybody in my team, and it's anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes. In addition to that, we have, of course, our planning, our Monday plannings for the whole week. So we still manage to create and maintain those bonds. And then outside of the work, there were like very strong bonds between individuals, and they maintain those bonds. So everybody go out for a drink, everybody's wearing a mask, or we go for a picnic and stuff like that. So I totally encourage that within the team. So and so that's how we maintain this bond. So there's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no disconnection. For sure, what we're missing is all the kind of organic and ad hoc knowledge sharing that happens by just being seated across the table, right? It's so easy to say, hey, what about this? Or hey, can you answer this? It's much easier to share that knowledge organically than just typing something on Slack and asking a question. So I would say for me, the challenges that we're facing right now are how can we maintain an environment fluid enough so we can continue to share that spontaneous knowledge and learnings as organically as possible. And we're thinking about ways on how to do that in my team right now. I don't have a clear, a definitive answer. And the other challenge, as I said, is like, how can we be effective in the way we onboard new team members? And so far, we have two individuals. One has started with the team about 4 weeks ago. He's a project manager. And so far, I would say that we're pretty good. I mean, but we had to create an abundance of meetings and checkpoints and stuff like that, and develop a couple of tools to make sure that the knowledge was kind of sinking in. So it's okay. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, but those are going to be, those are the challenges that we're facing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certain, I've always been interested in how companies are doing the onboarding process when they recruit new employees during these times. I was just talking to someone earlier about just trying to scan, like a birth certificate or a I-9 form into scanners these days. If you don't have a home scanner, you gotta go to a FedEx or something, and this becomes a little more challenging these days to,
Yeah.
do those type of security measures, whether onboarding or whatnot. You talked a little bit about it, but I want to go a little more in depth. What's a day in the life of a PM or a designer look like for someone at Automat?
So I would tell you that for PM, it's so for a PM. I mean, we have a very specific, project management methodology. It's a simplified version of some of the industry standards. So the typical day for a PM is, I will not bore you with the number of emails that they have to go through, but typical day is managing the team. So we have systematically for all the projects. So we have a very agile methodology of developing and deploying those bots. Just to give you an example, the typical duration from the inception of the project up to the go live when we're launching the bot on their website, it's anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. So it goes very quickly. If you think about all the work that needs to be done, right? Because we need to understand the brand, understand the domain, creating the visual assets, and blah, 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 all that stuff. So it requires a cadence that is fairly, accelerated. And so we create a model that is very close to software development, the agile methodology for developing software. So we have, back to your question, so there's absolutely for each project, there is a daily stand-up with the team to make sure that everybody's on the same page. In addition to that, the PM needs to make sure that we get, in addition to the specific stand-ups that are about the day, there are a weekly touch point with the team to plan the week. In addition to that, there is a weekly touch point with the customer to make sure that we give them the proper update, that we know where we are with the project, any deviations, any new risk, how do we mitigate risk, how do we handle specific requirements, new requirements, how do we handle the approval. As you can imagine, all those bots needs to be approved by marketing, they need to be approved by legal, because the wording we're using needs to be compatible with some legal compliance that we have. So there's a lot of people that are involved with the customer side, so all the requests about approval and all that stuff. In addition to that, there is of course all the interaction with engineering. We have very close interaction with product engineering, because our technology requires still that level of interaction, because we have, in some cases, for example, the customer may come up with a requirement that is not part of or a feature that is not part of our existing product suite. So in this case, we immediately sit down with product engineering and say, hey, can we do that within the existing time frame? Most of the case, they can comply with that. So again, but we have to manage that particular deliverable also. So it means managing that relationship. Then, of course, within the team, even internally, we have all kinds of other considerations. We need to review the test plans, for example. So the PM is going to be sitting down with the QA lead, and they're going to be reviewing the test plan to make sure that it is executable within the existing time frame. It complies with the requirements, and so on and so forth. So that's in a nutshell. It's touching the different members in the organization in terms of interaction, and of course interactions with product engineering. That gives you probably a good overview in terms of the different touch points. But if I look at their calendars, I look at when I have a one-on-one with the PMs in my team, we go about the same kind of areas that we're touching, and it's a recurring theme. It's just managing the deliverables, managing the internal team. It's all about, as you know, for PM, even for small projects like that, managing deliverables, managing the customer relationship, which is a big an important aspect of our business. We're a small company. We have few customers, but we have huge customers. We have big brands that we're dealing with. When you're dealing with L'Oreal and Sephora and those brands, I mean, you have to have a very good capabilities, understanding the customer requirements, understanding their needs, not necessarily their wants, but their needs, managing the relationship, making sure that we have a good rapport with the customer. We're doing customer satisfaction survey with our customers, and our rating is always through the roof. So it's one of the main attribute of our team is like the level of satisfaction that we're getting from our customer is something that is really important. So managing that relationship, it's an investment. Like every relationship, whether it's a personal relationship or a professional relationship, it's an investment. So all the PMs in the teams, they do invest a lot at managing the relationship with the customer.
And you touched on it a little bit. I just wanted to, as we look about to wrap up here, just a couple more questions. What does an ideal candidate look like for you?
So in terms of attributes and value, right? So I would say we definitely we're looking for people. So here's the interesting things in my team. We had very junior people that started in the organization, and just to keep in mind that the domain we are in right now, those very sophisticated conversational bots, like 5 years ago, they didn't exist, right? So we are building and creating the best practices, if you will, right now. So in the organization, we had folks. They were junior, they joined the organization, and they developed the skills, and now they've developed this expertise that is extremely valuable for organizations. So we need people, I would say, in the organization that are curious, that are, of course, that are smart, that have, for designer, we're asking for a background with, the ability to able to write. So copywriting, people that are very good, with linguistic, people that are, with a background about, psychology, with background about, cognitive science, how people think about how they consume products, for example. So to have this kind of intelligence about understanding how people behave, that's something that we're looking for. So people that have experience in e-commerce, advertising, marketing, great. All those folks that have this kind of background, even though if they have not developed they don't have any specific real world experience at developing chatbots. If you have the right mindset, the right perspective, if you understand the typical customer journey, right, whether it's on a virtual journey or like literally, a journey through a store, what is a typical store experience at Kiehl's or at Sephora, if you have a good understanding of that, or if you have the interest in developing that, we're totally open. I'm not looking for people that are necessarily have 25 years of experience, because guess what? It doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested in people that are interested. I'm looking for people that are interesting, people that want to grow with organization, people that are able to defend their design and to justify their design, to explain their design, people that are data driven. It is super critical to our organization that our design and our deployments are data driven. We do not make any decision that is not data driven or KPI driven. So when for example, all those bots, as you can imagine, as we deploy, they kind of evolve because the customer shopping experience evolve. So we are very obsessive about specific metrics,
Mm-hmm.
and the way we optimize those bots is based on those metrics, right? So we're not going to be doing an optimization because it's cool, because it's nice, because it's fun. We're going to be optimizing our bot because we are not performing, or we're underperforming for specific KPIs or specific event or specific piece of data. So someone who is like really data driven, that's definitely a plus for us. And of course, someone, we're a startup, right? So we're not counting the hours. So it's hardworking, someone who has the ability to interact with different type of teams. We in our team, we're going to be interacting with, of course, customers, but within the organization, with like AI. All the AI team, for example, we have a bunch of PhDs there. If you're able to interact with product engineering folks, product marketing folks, so the ability to be very, very flexible and interacting with all those folks is also an important attribute. In addition to be, all the typical, values around, works of ethics and stuff like that. So it's that's the kind of individual we're looking for.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, as we wrap up, final question here as we close. I appreciate you being here, Daniel, and we have Lucy that's on the YouTube answering what's going on in the chat. But the final question, because now, everybody's get the chance to interview Automat before you get a chance to interview them. Why should people work for Automat?
Oh, the answer is very, very simple. We have a great product that we know that works, that brings benefit to our end customer. So it's a product that, of course, needs to be optimized, needs to be tweaked, needs to evolve. But we have a great product suite that we know works well with our customer. You're going to be working with a great team of individuals that are totally dedicated to the success of the organization. We have a great executive team. We have a great CEO with a great vision. You'll have the ability to influence the product roadmap. You'll have the ability to create brand new best practices in a brand new domain that did not exist like barely 5 years ago. You'll have the ability to deal with customers and to drive, to a certain extent, to help them drive once the product is deployed, to drive and help them drive and create new marketing strategy on how to present and position the bot. You'll get the satisfaction within weeks, literally within weeks, to see that the product you worked on is bringing benefits to your customer and the end consumer. You should see the feedback we're getting from the end consumer that are using our bots. It's just completely insane. So, I mean, if all that resonates with you, totally, you should apply.
Awesome. Well, great. Daniel, thank you so much. Lucy in the YouTube chat, thank you for responding to the chat that's going on there. Automat, this sounds like an exciting company. And where do people apply?
Our website, we publish on all kinds of sites, Indeed and all those sites. So I mean, all the job positions are there, available there.
Awesome. Well, great. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining on this session with Automat. Daniel, thank you for being here, and Lucy once again. And we'll catch everybody in the next session. Take care, everyone.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.